with another story. Now, today we have got a really silly story for you. I think you're going to enjoy it. It is supremely silly. What's that, Frank? You'd rather have a hot chocolate? Well, maybe later, Frank. I think hot chocolate can wait, can't it? What? But you love it so much. Well, I'll tell you what. If you listen to this story really well, I'll put some extra big marshmallows in for you. How does that sound? Good? Yeah, he says that sounds absolutely great. Right, I'm going to need my glasses for this story because it's got quite a few words in it, but I'm sure you're going to enjoy this one. It's all about Jack and the Beanstack. Here we go. Jack and his mother were so poor that they lived under a cow in a field. His mum slept at the front end and Jack slept at the other end. Daisy was a very good cow, but the problem was Jack's mum was fed up with milk. It was all they ever had. Hot milk, cold milk, warm milk, milk on toast, milk pudding, and on Sundays, for a special treat, they had milk surprise, which was really just milk with more milk on top. Milk, 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 milk. Jack didn't mind milk, but his mother would have given anything for a change. I'm sick and tired of milk, she would shout. If I never taste another drop as long as I live, it will be too soon. If only you were a clever boy, Jack, you'd think of something. I think that accent's a bit muddled, isn't it? Never mind. I have thought of something, said Jack. It's a new kind of milkshake. It's milk flavoured. Well, Jack's mum chased him all around the field. One day, a terrible thing happened. Jack was sitting in the field eating a mini milk lolly, and his mum was having her after milk rest, well, as you do, when Daisy suddenly looked up at the grey sky and decided it was going to rain, and as all cows do when it rains, she laid down. Right, that's it. I've had enough, spluttered Jack's mum when Jack had pulled her out by the ankles. You will have to take our Daisy into town and sell her. But make sure you get a good price, mind, otherwise I'll chase you round the field for a week. Well, Jack was very sad because Daisy was more like a friend than just a roof over his head. But he always liked to please his mother. So he made himself a milk sandwich for the journey, and Jack and Daisy set off towards town. It was a long way, so they took it in turns to carry each other. Then, at the top of the hill, they met an old man sitting on a tree stump with a shopping bag. My, that's a fine cow you're carrying, he said. What's your name, sonny? It's Jack, said Jack. Well, Jack, said the old man, I'd like to buy that cow from you. Well, I'd like to sell the cow too, said Jack. But you'll have to pay a good price for her. Otherwise, my mum will chase me round the field for a week. clever boy, said the old man, and I'm in a good mood today. So guess what I'm going to give you for that cow? What? Said Jack. The old man reached into his shopping bag. Beans! I'm going to give you beans, said the old man. Not just one bean, not just two beans. I'm going to give you a whole tin of beans. Oh no! Jack couldn't believe his luck. Not one bean, not two beans, but a whole tin of beans for just one old cow. It must have been his lucky day. At last his mum would be so proud of him. So Jack kissed Daisy goodbye and set off home, carrying the tin of beans as carefully as he would carry a newborn baby, feeling very pleased with himself. I wonder, Frank, what Jack's mum's going to have to say about all this. As soon as he saw the field, he began to shout, "Look, Mum, all our troubles are over. Guess what I got for Daisy? Not one bean, not two beans, but a whole tin completely full of beans. Why, Mother, there must be 100 yummy beans in this tin. I knew you'd be pleased." Well, at the end of the week, when his mum had finished chasing him, Daft Jack and his mum sat down in the middle of the field. "Oh, Jack," wailed his mum, "now we haven't even got a cow to sleep under. If only you were a clever boy, you'd think of something." "I have thought of something," said Jack. "Let's eat the beans." So Jack and his mum ate the beans, and then they had nothing left at all. Oh dear, I wonder what they're going to do now. That night, poor Jack just couldn't sleep. "I can't do anything right," he thought sadly. "My poor mother would be better off without me. I think I'll run away into the big wide world and seek my fortune." So Jack decided to leave a note for his mother. He couldn't find any paper, so he tore off the label from the bean tin. But there was something already written on the back of the bean label. Jack held the paper up to the moonlight and it read, "Congratulations! You have bought the Lucky Bean Tin and won a fantastic prize for you and your family." Jack woke his mam. When she saw the message on the bean tin, she couldn't believe her eyes. "Oh, Jack," she cried, "at last we'll be able to buy a proper house." I'm not sure if I'm trying to aim for a Somerset accent or an Irish one. You'll just have to excuse me. "Yes," said Jack, "and I will buy poor Daisy back. I fancy a nice glass of milk." But Jack's mum was too happy to chase him round the field. In the morning, they sent off the Lucky Bean label, and soon their prize arrived. It was, ta-da! A whole lorry load of baked beans. Jack and his mum didn't know what to say. They began to stack the tins in one corner of the field, but before they had finished, a second lorry load of beans arrived. All day long, the lorries kept coming, and by the evening there was a huge pile of bean tins, a stack of tins, a colossal, gleaming, monumental mountain of bean tins. There were bean tins right up to the clouds, and from that day, Jack and his mum had to eat beans. That's all they ever had. Hot beans, cold beans, warm beans, beans on toast, and bean pudding. And on Sundays, for a special treat, they had bean surprise. Do you want to know what bean surprise is, Frank? Yeah, it's beans with beans on top. Beans, 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 beansy beans. Jack's mum would have given anything for a change. I'm sick and tired of these beans, she shouted one day. If I never eat another bean as long as I live, it will be too soon. If you were a clever boy, Jack, you'd think of something. I have thought of something, said Jack. Bean juice milkshake. Well, there wasn't room to chase Jack around the field because the beanstack was too big. So Jack's mum chased him right up the beanstalk instead. Higher and higher, Jack hopped from tin to tin, with his mum puffing and panting behind. Until at last, Jack climbed so high he left his mum far behind. But Jack didn't stop. He kept on climbing. He looked down at the world below, and he saw the field as small as a handkerchief and his mum as tiny as a little ant. And still Jack climbed higher. And when he was almost too tired to climb any more, Jack reached the top of the beanstalk, way up in the clouds. Well, Jack looked around, and to his amazement he saw an enormous castle with its great door wide open. He tiptoed inside. It was the most incredible place he had ever seen. Jack wandered from room to room. He found massive carpets as thick as snowdrifts, a solar-heated jacuzzi, and a living room with great big armchairs and a TV screen the size of a cinema. Woohoo! Oh, Frank, you'd be in heaven there, wouldn't you? A screen the size of a cinema. Wow! At last, Jack wandered into a wonderful kitchen fitted with every kind of gadget. Jack was interested in cooking, and he climbed up to look at the giant-sized microwave when suddenly the whole castle began to shake. And a great voice roared, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I've got a giant bean in my tum." Jack looked around in alarm and saw the most enormous giant sitting at a table and rubbing his stomach, looking very, very miserable. "It's not fair," complained the giant. "All I ever get to eat is children, and now I've got a bellyache. Hot kids, cold kids, warm kids, kids on toast and kids pudding. And on Sundays, for a special treat, I have kids surprise." Yep, you're right. That's just kids with kids on top. "I'd give anything for a change. I'm sick and tired of kids. If I never eat another kid as long as I live, it would be too soon." He looked down at Jack. "And now, I've got to eat you too. It's not fair. The giant reached out a huge, hairy hand and grabbed Jack around the waist. He lifted Jack, kicking and struggling into the air, and opened his vast, cave-like mouth with a tongue like a huge purple carpet. Oh, I must show you this picture. Oh, my goodness me. Look. There's the giant with his huge mouth. And he's just about to eat our Jack. Oh my goodness, no, Jack, say it isn't so. Well, thought Jack, this is the end of Jack, and no mistake. He was about to be crunched into 1,000,000 tiny daft-sized pieces when suddenly he had an idea. Excuse me, Mr. Giant, he whispered nervously. If you eat me, it will make your tummy ache so much worse. I can think of something much nicer. I don't suppose you like beans, do you? Beans? Roared the giant. Do I like beans? Yummy, yummy, I love 'em. So Jack took the giant by the hand and led him down the beanstalk. And on the way, the giant told Jack how lonely he was, all by himself in the great big castle in the clouds with nothing to eat but people. Jack began to feel very sorry for him and took him home to meet his mum. Oh, Jack, she cried, wherever have you been? Jack's mum was very pleased to see Jack in one piece. But when she saw the giant, and when the giant saw Jack's mum, it was love at first sight. 3, 5, 4, fum. I'm going to marry Daft Jack's mum. Of course you are, dear, said Jack's mum. But first you must be very hungry after your long journey. Oh, Vals drifted off into an Irish accent again. The giant looked at the beanstalk, gleaming in the evening light as he licked his giant lips. He began munching the beans, not 1 tin, not 2 tins, but the whole stack of beans. And he didn't even stop to open the tins. Blimey, what a giant. So Jack's mum married the giant, and they were very happy. They all went to live in the giant's wonderful castle in the sky. Jack opened a cafe in the giant's kitchen, and he called it Jack's Sky Snacks. And people came from far and wide, and Jack grew rich and happy. He served everything you can think of, except milk and beans. Oh, do you know what? That was a very silly story, wasn't it? But I liked it. I enjoyed learning about Jack and the giant. They certainly had a lot of beans to eat, didn't they? And milk. Well, on that note, Frank and I are going to say bye-bye. You get your hot chocolates ready, and remember, until next time, keep safe, keep smiling, and make sure that you look after everybody. See you later. Bye.